What is up, and welcome back to the channel. So we got stuff to finish lowering the race truck. Just to put this in perspective to how low this thing is right now, because I haven't even fully grasped it. Take a look at this. My kneecaps are at the tailgate. So that is how low this currently is. I'm not used to anything low. Most of you guys know this. I used to have four-wheel drive stuff, so this is pretty freaking cool to me. But we stopped by Auto Spring of Joplin, and while I was there, I was like, hey, you know what? Do you guys have centering pins? And he kind of just laughed at me. He's like, well, of course. So he got me hooked up with some centering pins. By the way, these are 3/8. I hope they fit. They're supposed to fit. They should fit. Let's go with that. I took my old ones down there. I said, you can make them about this length. And they went ahead and bent them for me. So, pretty stoked. We got these. We're going to throw them on and button up the rear end of this thing. Alright, so I went ahead and did the other side off camera because it's the same thing. So that side actually went much smoother. Already had all the tools in my hands. Oh boy. So now it'll be on to the front side. And because I mean, it's hard to see. I mean, it is flat out leaning right now. It's probably lower in the rear by, I mean, I'll measure it, but it's right now it looks like every bit of 2 inches, maybe 3 inches. So we're gonna go ahead and pull some stuff out of the front. But first, lunch break. So the plane, whenever we get back, jack up the front end and put jack stands under it, and then jack up the lower ball joint area, undo the ball joints, and two-wheel drive things. We'll get to it. So let's get some food and then we'll be right back. I'll show you what we get into. Our lunch today, brought to you by Mr. Derek Parrott, because he's the Subway man. If you don't know Derek, then you don't get it, but if you do, you do. Is bringing back some memories, but I took the bearing cap off, which I literally just took this little pry bar and wedged it between there and smacked it with the hammer once, and I mean, you just pry it apart. It's pretty easy. Then next you will see this little retainer thing, kind of keeps it, it's like a keeper of some sort, and that comes off. I always put that with the cap. Then you'll have the nut, the axle nut, as I like to call it. All this looks old because it is still old. I never changed it out because I didn't know if I was going to swap to 5-lug or what I was going to do at the time. So I'm still not going to address it here. Obviously brakes are super easy. I'm not really worried about that right now. I've got some other stuff to take care of. Then we'll put nice fancy brakes on it. But we need to go ahead and I believe pop this caliper off. Okay, so you guys probably saw that. I got the, I don't know if you guys remember seeing this, I got the spacer out. And for any of you guys that had suspension height questions, it was this with a Moog 7226S spring. So these are the lift springs with these. We're not supposed to use them together because they're not supposed to fit together, but we made it happen. So we took that out. Now we're going to just keep the lift spring. I say lift spring. Yeah, in my opinion, it's really, I don't know that I consider it that, because this thing would not clear a Fortune factory tire and wheel combination whenever I had the factory springs in it. Like, jacked it up, put the wheels on, sat it back down, and the tire rubbed the top of the fender, not even moving or turning. That's how low this thing was. I mean, I don't know. We're gonna put these in and see how it sits, and if it's within like a ½ inch, I'm gonna leave it, because we still have tons of more weight to put up front. Like there's There's no accessories in this thing. There's no fluids. There's no radiator, intercooler, core support, nothing. So we got a lot of stuff to still put on the front end that will help bring the front end back down. So we're gonna try this out. All right, so it's back on its own weight. The jack is out. We are still, look at the gap there. You can see the gap way back there. It's a lot smaller. We're still 3.5 inches higher in the front. So, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I've still got the stock springs somehow. I have no idea. We're gonna throw those back in. With the Moog and this, I'm pretty sure it brought the truck up 4 inches. So, I should have measured before and where it was at and see how much it dropped with just those. But maybe the stock springs will bring it to where I like it. If not, I'm gonna have to start cutting coils on one of these springs, and I don't know which. So, could get interesting, but let's jack it back up, take it back apart, and go for round 2. Alrighty, so this is where I'm at. So you guys can see it does seem to sit lower. It's better than before, but I mean, we're still like 2 inches high up here. So I've came to the conclusion that I'm just gonna put the stock spring on the other side and call it good. Obviously this will not be my final ride height, but with it being that not everything is in the truck, I mean, literally we've got a lot more weight that has to go in the truck that will affect my ride height. So I'm gonna wait until I'm done, and then whenever I'm done, if it still sits too high in the front, then I will pull it back apart and probably cut a coil. But that's gonna be what we're gonna do for now. So I've got to put the brake caliper back on and tidy things up over here. Then we'll go to the other side, rip all that stuff out, and just throw the stock spring in, and we will be done with ride height on the 89. And then it'll probably be time to move to ride height on the 92. But that's a lot of stuff back to back to back. I don't know if we'll see if we get there. I should be leaving. I've got to pack up all my stuff and leave by middle of next week. So. Okay guys, so my camera battery's dead. We're gonna wrap up the suspension video here with my phone. It is extremely windy, so bear with me, but I figured you guys want to look at this too. The first time I've had the truck outside in a while, but just go ahead and look in the background right there. Welds and titty caps on that first gen, welds and titty caps on this first gen. But anyway, you guys can tell the ride height looks so much better. Yes, it is still leaning. There is a lot of weight in the bed, but also there's not a lot of weight up front. This thing is not fully assembled yet. There's obviously still lots of weight to go up here. So I stopped with the stock spring, the stock factory spring, uncut, did nothing to it. That's what I put back in on both sides, and that's the way it's gonna be until the truck is fully assembled and we can actually judge ride height, because Andy stepped on the front of it last night and he's like 215, 220 maybe. And the front end of the truck dropped an inch. So I for sure probably have a couple 100 pounds to put in the truck still. So I'm not gonna go cutting springs whenever my ride height's gonna change. So once we get it fully assembled, then we will come back to the ride height debacle and see if we need to bring it down a little bit more in the front. But man, this is sharp. I wish I would have videoed myself rolling it out of the shop earlier, because rolled it out of the shop and it probably went 100 yards down the driveway. I didn't mind it at all. It was a fun little ride. But yeah, this is wrapping up the suspension video. I figured you guys just really might like a look at the first gen outside of the shop. It's not very often you get to see that. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. Hopefully you guys like it, and we will see you guys in the next video.